No?
M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan. Man, I have such a soft spot for him. I'm from Philadelphia, so is he, and he makes his movies in and around my hometown, which I always like to see. But he is, without a doubt, the most hit or miss director of our time. Now, when he's on, his movies are brilliant. Signs, The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Split. These are absolutely fantastic movies. But then, there are the misses. Oh boy, are they bad. The Village, The Happening, Glass, and Lady in the Water. Boy, these are pretty terrible movies. The Happening is probably the worst movie that I have ever saw in movie theaters. Now, this past weekend, he released his latest film called Trap. So, what do we have here? Can we put this one in the win column for M. Night? Or does this go down as another loss? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the movie Trap.
Let's talk.
So, here we see Cooper Adams, a seemingly mild-mannered regular guy, taking his teenage daughter Riley to pop star Lady Raven's concert as a reward for her good grades. Now, while he's there, he notices that there's a pretty unusually high police presence around the concert venue. His curiosity gets the best of him, and he asks a vendor named Jamie what's going on. Jamie tells him that the FBI is involved. They plan to catch a serial killer known as the Butcher at the venue because they have gotten knowledge that he is going to be in attendance. This is when we find out that the Butcher is actually Cooper himself. And we see him secretly checking footage on his phone of his latest captive in his safe house. Now trapped, Cooper Adams is desperately trying to figure out a way to escape the arena with his daughter without being arrested. So what works in this film? Well, I have to admit that I do love the concept of a rat caught in a cage desperately trying to get out. This plays up really well here as Adams continuously tries to plan or figure out a way to get out while the police presence grows and grows, topped off by the arrival of an FBI profiler who seems to know his moves before he makes them. This is where we see M. Night at his best as a director, setting up the atmosphere. Also, kudos to M. Night's daughter, Salika. She's an aspiring singer who put out her first album last year. She plays Lady Raven, and while her genre of modern R&B isn't my go-to, she does have a nice voice.
And, you actually got a nice voice.
But what carries this movie is Josh Hartnett. He's absolutely creepy as Cooper Adams, bouncing between a lovable, dorky dad and a sadistic, meticulous killer with such ease. It happens in the blink of an eye. He is just sickly charismatic, and he's probably the best villain I've seen all year in any film. Hartnett, he's good in everything I see him in, even when the movie isn't really good. He always puts in a good performance, and I think we need to talk about him as one of the better actors currently working. Now, what doesn't work here is what usually is the Achilles heel of M. Night movies. He builds a solid foundation. He tends to usually do this. He has clever setup. He has an appealing lead actor. He has an interesting premise. But as the film goes on, the plot slowly becomes silly with some weak dialogue. And the ending, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's like several near endings. It's like he just doesn't seem to know when to end the film. I think the film goes on a little bit too long. Also, the movie is at its strongest while we're in the arena, but the third act has us leave the arena. So it goes from this cool rat in a trap situation to a chasing the criminal film, which weakens it. If you're going to take us out of the arena, do it at the very end. When it happens, we still have close to a half hour left. Finally, I know I gave her kudos earlier, but I have to criticize Salika here. She has talent as a singer, there's no question. But as an actress, she struggles. It's covered up early in the film, when she has minimal dialogue. But the more she has to act and say, the more it becomes evident that she's pretty limited as an actress. So let's go back to our original question. Is this a hit or a miss? Well, I'm going to say with this one, it's actually a bit of both. It's definitely not in the league of A Sixth Sense or Unbreakable, but it's nowhere near as bad as The Happening or The Village. I would probably put this in the same category as last year's M. Night movie, A Knock at the Cabin. A flawed but solid thriller. It may not be a big hit, but it may not also be a movie we need to see in theaters. But it's absolutely worth seeing at home when it hits the streaming services. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Not every movie has to be a home run. There's nothing wrong with a steady and solid but flawed film that just provides some entertainment. And that's where I would fall with this movie. So, although Trap peters out in a manner that so many M. Night Shyamalan movies often do, moviegoers seeking a few thrills or just wanting to see Hartnett play a juicy role, they'll have fun.
Not bad at all.
Well, that's it for me this week. Tune in next week where I give you my thoughts and feelings on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video with friends and enemies alike. And as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.